Dude, I don't care how many views you're getting on a podcast talking to your MAGA parents. The minute my dad says, I don't care about anybody in California, including you, there is no more relationship. The relationship is over. I wouldn't let my worst enemy talk to me that way, much less my father. I wouldn't let a stranger on the street talk to me that way, much less my own parent. I'm very rarely one who is inclined to judge the legitimacy of somebody else's content, but in this circumstance, is it a really necessary conversation anymore, or is it just exploitative? And if it is exploitative, who's being exploited? It's not your parents. It's not your parents. Y'all are the ones losing. And I've never talked to these people. I've never had a conversation with them. But parasocially, I consider them friends in a way. I care about their well-being. And at this point, I don't think it's healthy. I think y'all need to pivot.
I just sent a text message to a MAGA family member after a pretty big disagreement about values and about policies. And I ended it with, I want to have softer edges and have more understanding. And I reread my message and I was like, yes, like this is where I want to come from. And it's a place of self-love over anything. I saw, wow, that is the years of therapy and coaching and self-love coming through in action. They were specifically upset because of the couple videos that I have right now going viral that I was being very stern about MAGA women and like the issues that I feel are facing us as a collective, describing to him that I don't want to be that way forever. I don't have to be defensive, and nor do I have to be right, which I just think is so powerful for relationships, whether you stay in the relationship or you leave. Sometimes loving ourselves is like the perfect remedy for all of the hate and division we feel in the world.
So the hatred of MAGA voters are spread to even the kids, right? The parents are hating their children, as you can see in the videos. The interaction with their children is becoming difficult because they can't interact with people who have a different opinion about them, right? As in, why are you voting against even your children's rights? That's what they're asking. But to the extent that you can see in the first video, the lady claiming that in a podcast, our parent is claiming that he doesn't care about his children or his child who is in a state that politically leans opposite of what he thinks. This is absurd. This is hatred. This is, I don't know what. Because to the extent you are hitting your children about a political view, it's weird.
Are some of your MAGA friends and family trying to come back in your life? Because that's happening to me. It's happening to me. So I just received a message from one of my friends that I had to unfriend back in October. Because every time I would post something, he would write the most craziest shit on my post. And you could tell that he went down that red pill pipeline. Anyway, I haven't spoken to him since October. And all of a sudden, I get a message from him. Now, I don't know if he has Trump or regret. However, let's read the message together. I think it's kind of telling. Now, he said, I understand why you blocked me, but it's because you were a crazed Camilla fangirl. First of all, it's not Camilla. It's Kamala. Kamala. Then he said, not regretting wanting Trump to succeed. What does that mean? Not regretting wanting Trump to succeed. Don't like what's happening in Palestine, but we both know what's going on with that. Let me know if I am more balanced in my politics, and maybe I'll accept you back in my circle. Now, I blocked you. I blocked you. And now you're saying that maybe you'll accept me? Oh, hell no. And this is my answer. You voted for Trump, and you still act like you have no regrets, because I'm not going to take it. I'm not going to make any assumption that he regrets now. Meanwhile, this country is becoming a dictatorship. There is no room for conversation. Punto. And while my clock is playing in the background, let me know what you think about that. I haven't got a response back, but I'll make sure I let you guys know.
I get asked a lot about what to do with MAGA family members, and I don't know. I don't know what to do with them, which is why I just choose not to interact with mine. But there are two things that I do know for sure. The one is that you should not accept abuse from anyone, and if someone can't respect a small boundary of yours, they are not going to respect a larger one. I think right now we are sort of tightening our belts on the idea of being comfortable, and it's no longer about doing the thing that makes us most comfortable. It's about choosing which discomfort we'd rather live with. One of those things where there is not a right decision, and sometimes when I'm confronted with these scenarios, the way to put it into perspective for myself is to look for the things that I'm grateful for. When it comes to these topics, which keep me up at night, my own personal relationships with my parents and talking about them on the internet, that keeps me up at night, but I am so grateful that that's what keeps me up at night. These are the decisions I have to make, not whether or not I'm going to flee the country, not whether or not my kids are going to come home and have parents tomorrow because of the color of their skin. And when I think about it that way, cutting out the people who supported creating the environment for that to be the case becomes a lot easier. And honestly, as a white person, for me personally, it's the absolute least I could do.
So people ask me for advice every day, as in, should you cut off your parents if they lean politically different than you? I don't think so. But if someone projects hate towards you, I think it's a reason to perhaps become at peace with yourself. Because there is no essence breaking bread with someone who literally hates you. There is no excuse to that. Yeah, because hate, I believe, you cannot counter hate with the love. It's impossible. As in, you love someone who hates you. It's impossible.
I know a lot of you on my recent video were commenting that your parents also were starting to wake up. You noticed some changes. A lot of people took their flags down, and a lot of people are also asking, like, what should they say if they talk to their parents? So I thought I'd give you some pointers. Obviously, these are just some ideas. I am not like some brilliant person who knows the answers on how to get these people to wake the fuck up, but I'm going to tell you a few things. First, as much as you want to scream at them, you voted for this. Don't. Just avoid doing that if you want to make any progress. And instead, what you need to do is not use accusatory language and not mention his name directly. Don't even mention the word, that vile last name. Don't even mention it. So you can say things like, you know what they're doing now. Did you hear about this bill that they passed? They wrote this executive order, or anything that doesn't directly name him as the evil villain that is actually doing these things. Number two, you can let them know that you're not feeling safe, like for one reason or another. So maybe, the way they're taking people off the street. You don't have to use the word kidnap, but they're taking people and you don't know what they're doing with them. And maybe you have a friend that's a person of color, or that their name ends in a Z, a last name ends in a Z or something, like things that would frighten you if they happened. You have a lot of friends that, they're not doing so well. They're about to lose their house. They can't feed themselves, things like that just are showing how detrimental whatever's happening in the government is for us. You can also mention the big companies that are doing so many fucked up things against us. It's not this group of people is against me. It's more like, wow, they're robbing us blind. We can't even afford to, get the necessities. That's a fucking problem. For example, I mentioned to my mother, I went to the market recently and my coffee, the, coffee grounds that I buy, which were $11.99 are now $15.99. It's not like it went up 50 cents. This is ridiculous. So if you can mention that without mentioning Trump, without mentioning, that will work to your advantage. Another thing that would be helpful is if you have a personal anecdote. So, I live in DC and someone knocked on my friend's door just because they're a black person and, they weren't even doing anything, but they were giving them problems and giving them trouble and they're looking for something, so some anecdote of a person, like my friend who's a trans woman in Miami had to leave because she really started to feel unsafe for her and her family, especially with all the laws that they are making in Florida. No one in particular, right? They are doing it, okay? Another really interesting thing you could read up on if you wanted to is the companies, okay? are hiring people that live in other countries so that they can work remotely, so that they can pay them much less than hiring Americans. So it is not the immigrants coming into the country taking our jobs. It's the companies that are huge and greedy and fucked up that are looking for people outside of our country deliberately so that they can pay them less. And they're also skirting past this law that basically you can't hire a person that lives in another country unless you have tried to hire a US citizen and you couldn't find one. So they're just pretending. That's why there's all these job listings for, especially in the tech industry. They're looking for a software engineer, they're looking for this, but actually they just need to post a job so it looks like they looked for an American, then they hire them from another country. And so that's something that's taken our jobs, not people moving in here. So if anyone talks to their parents, let me know if you tried any of these things, or just tag me in your video. I'd love to hear your outcome. I'm wishing the best for you. It's amazing that a lot of people are waking up. They really are. Also, go to the Friendly Honey Badger if you don't follow her. She has a lot of insight on this topic. And if you like my shirt, which is perfect for these times, it's from Migdalia Pace, so you can check her out too. All right, good luck.
Why y'all still breaking bread with people that would happily starve your children? So you've got family members who are Trumpers, and you're bending over backwards to not talk politics so you can keep the peace. But see, my question is, why are you even dealing with them at all? Because none of this stuff is really just politics anymore. These people have told you with their actions that they support hate. Hate against people for their skin color, for who they love, for being poor, disabled, or even vulnerable. They've made it clear they don't care about hungry children or the less fortunate. That's not politics, baby. That is character. So why are you actually keeping the peace? Because it's your mama, your daddy, your cousin? Let me ask you a question. Did your mama and daddy raise you to ignore behavior like that? Did they raise you to sit at a table with people who take a political stance that cruelty is a good thing? Or if they didn't, why are you lowering your standard right now to continue to deal with the same type of people that act like this just because they family? Even roaches have babies, okay? Family is not a magic reason to keep toxic people in your life. And let me make this really plain, especially if you have children. Because some of y'all want y'all kids to have a relationship with your parents or like their uncles or something, right? But a relationship with what exactly? With people who think like that? Who act like that? And then you come home trying to explain to your kids why the behavior isn't okay, while you still sending them over for Sunday dinner. Make it make sense, because your kids learn more from what you tolerate than what you lecture about. So remember, at the end of the day, y'all, you have a choice. You are not required to maintain a relationship with people that undermine your humanity or your children's humanity. For real, stop acting like a victim in a situation that you can just walk away from. Protect your peace, protect your children, and stop letting its family be the loophole that keeps you stuck in harm.
A lot of parents are not reconciling because they love their children, right? That's not the reason. The reason is that the reality of the consequences of electing Trump have started hitting. Like, tariffs are hitting back to back. The grocery prices are escalating. Like, what Trump promised to do, he is not doing. As in, he promised to release the Epstein files. Has he done so? So, MAGA parents are trying to reach back to their kids after spreading hatred for the past maybe 1.5 years, after seeing that Trump wasn't the real deal.
No, because if you are willing to cut off family, friends, anybody in your own personal life whose views don't perfectly align with yours, you're the problem right now. You're the problem right now, and I guarantee that kind of behavior will cause more of a divide in your own life than this election ever will.
Are you hurt and bewildered by the idea that somebody might cut you off because of who you voted for in this last election? I get it. It's confusing. I would like for you to consider, however, that your hurt and bewilderment is in direct proportion to their hurt and bewilderment that you would vote for somebody gleefully trying to take their fucking rights away from them. Have you considered that? It's not because your views don't align. It's because your fucking morals don't align. Does that track? No, just because I value the price of cheese more than I do your bodily autonomy doesn't mean that we can't be friends. Agree to disagree. It is that serious. I hope you can fucking understand that.
A week ago, my mom slapped me across the face.
after screaming at me that she hates me and has hated me since I was born. In front of my child. She slapped me in front of my child, and my dad screamed, calling me crazy and a loser. One of my siblings screamed that I need to just shut the F up and take it. This is the same family who insists that I both need to not work when my child is at school, but also work 16-hour days to afford living on my own. This is the same family that has threatened me with legal action simply because they don't like that I'm a single mom. Didn't know that was against the law. These are the same grandparents that told me that they didn't ask for this. They didn't ask to be grandparents. Anyways, after my mom slapped me, I took all of my things, all of my child's things, and I left. And I have not been back. And it's been a little over a week. And yesterday, my mom thought it would be a good idea to text me and ask to see my child next week because she, quote, knows he's out of school, end quote. Are you on drugs? When I was leaving, I had all my stuff packed in bags and garbage bags and duffel bags. And I'm trying to corral my child outside. My mom goes, when am I babysitting next? And I said, never. You're retired. You're never going to see him again. And she goes, well, am I allowed to say goodbye? Am I allowed? And then a week later, without so much as an apology, can we see him next week? He can stay over. You can pick him up whenever. He can have a little sleepover. No. You don't get to hate me and then get to have a relationship with my kid. You don't get to put your hands on me and have a relationship with my child. Ever. When I said that you were never going to see my child again, I meant that. I will live in a box, and thankfully, I'm not going to have to, but I would choose poverty before I ever let my child be around an abuser. I can't imagine what it must be like to live in the delusion that I don't have any consequences, that I can say whatever I want, and I can do whatever I want, and I can hit whoever I want, and you can still see your grandson. What world are you living in? Because it's not the real one.
So, guys, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, please kindly do so because it means a lot to us, right? In spreading the message so that the world can see the light, right? Because light scatters a small light scatters a lot of darkness, right? So, as a country, we are in a lot of darkness right now because we have a cult who supports someone based on the amount of hatred they spread, amount of homophobic they have, about the amount of Islamophobic, as in we support someone because probably we hate what he or she hates. That is what we have become as a country, which is very bad. So kindly subscribe and give us support needed to spread this message, right? So that in the upcoming elections, we don't fall the same trap. There are midterms which are coming, midterms. So in the midterms, I want all of you to come out, so that we can put this country back to track. Because there is no essence of a family falling apart. You see, MAGA parents, they're not interacting well with their kids because they voted against what this country stood for because maybe probably they were not much informed. But if we help spread information, probably they might be informed into making better decision come midterms and maybe into further elections which will be in the future. So we're in the darkness as a country at the moment. We're in a country which is splintering apart, a country where parents hate their children based on their political views, which is very bad. So guys, we are bad. We are bad as country. We are bad.